YouTube is kind of strange about things, and I want to make sure that they're not too bad. But I also forgot that I have to add you in right there. So we should be live, right? Yeah, we are live. Amazing. I figured it out. So now it should be, you should be able to see it. Everybody is around. Hello, chat. Welcome for another NECRO live stream. Today we're only going to use the regular 2D model. Only because I don't have like the live 2D one set up, but we'll make through with what we got here. But today I have a special guest on, and you can introduce yourself to the great people.
Hey everyone, I'm D1802223. I'm a Mecha. I'm a fan of Mecha. I have a YouTube channel where I upload videos on Super Robot Wars. It's generally a game where there has different types of mecha anime. So you have your Gundam, you have your Mazinger, you have your Gurren Lagann, and so forth.
Merchandising.
So,
there you go. Sorry, I had to pull it up there so people can see it.
no problem. So NECRO invited me on stream, so I look forward to having a good time talking about whether Mecha is dying.
Yeah, and I wrote some questions, and I hopefully I could probably use them for the most part. But yeah, that's what we got here. By the way, I forgot. For some reason, YouTube is very strange when it comes to like subscribing to people, because I subscribed to some, I can't remember the channel, but then it like unsubbed me from it, or it didn't have like the bell enabled, and I'm like, YouTube is just weird. In fact, I like lost a bunch of subs today after uploading a video, so that's a thing. My favorite platform in the entire world.
It's a weird platform. I think it's getting crazier from year to year.
Oh, absolutely.
I've been using YouTube for more than 10 years. It keeps for everything it does right, it'll go back 2 to 3 steps.
Oh yeah, it's such a weird and broken, flawed system, and for some reason we still sit here and tolerate it because it's a good expressive outlet. I feel like, but
it's like the WWE. There's no other good alternative for wrestling. Example.
And so,
or some other big alternative. Yeah, sorry.
No, you're fine. So today, chat, we have this video, and the whole stream is about Mecha. And I myself am a very, very basic bitch Mecha kind of person. Like, and I'm so basic to the point that I like G Gundam is probably my favorite, because that's one of the only things that I've ever really seen in an extended period. But I still have a fond appreciation for all things that are Gundam. And so we have this video, this Trash Taste podcast highlights, where they talk about retro anime games, and then they bring up Mecha. And the reason that all of this kind of spurred off from the beginning was actually the tweet thread that you were in, where they were saying, like, they were trying to push this narrative of Mecha being dead, and how
more like it's dying in the West. Not really say dead, but he mentioned that it's dying for different reasons.
Yeah, he's saying, essentially that, and when you look at how well Gundam, it just in general, is doing, it's topping the charts. And I think it was second only to Dragon Ball in terms of Bandai Namco sales, which
Correct.
was numbers that they had in their quarterly reporting. So it's not like we just made it up. So that's the other thing about this. But also you can see they work for, what was the company? It was like Geeks Plus, which is kind of like a company where they get influencers to talk about Japanese culture, anime, stuff like that. All of the people here on the Trash Taste podcast are all a part of Geeks Plus. And as you can see, these shirts are like brand new. Like out of the plastic wrapping, they said, "Hey, can you promote Mecha? Just put these on." And it's right here in like the shirt that has nothing on it. It's not been worn whatsoever, except for this specific podcast. But whenever you're ready, I can hit us up with the video, and you can kind of see where this kind of goes.
All right, let's start.
Really weird.
I have a lot of Macross fanatic friends in California,
Macross,
especially.
yeah.
But I think the only official one was Robotech, right?
Yeah.
The other one, like, you have to look for them, like, unofficially.
Yeah. Robotech is a very strange case of not coming over to the West. I know that you know a lot about Robotech, I'm sure, Mecha in general, which is why I have you here. Can you tell me a little bit about Robotech and why it's not exactly
Uh,
outside of Japan mostly?
all right. Okay, because in the beginning there was an anime called Macross. It's one of the defining mecha anime of the 80s, and they want the people in Japan, they wanted to bring it over to the West. They had Harmony Go. They had a partnership with Harmony Go to bring it over to the West. But the West being the West, they can't just bring it over and call it Macross. They decided to bring it over and call it Robotech. They did some changes. And it's not, and of course, when they brought it over to the West, it was popular. It helped to popularize Mecha in the 80s for the Western audience. But what Harmony Go decide to do, they didn't, because for Robotech, it's not just purely Macross. It's not like, say, Power Rangers and Super Sentai, where Power Rangers is a westernized version of Super Sentai. What they did was Robotech, they somehow combined three different mecha series together. So you have your first season that covers Macross. Then you have your second season that covers Southern Cross, which is a different mecha anime altogether. No relation to Macross, only through that they have the same moniker at the front, like Super Dimension. You have your Super Dimension Macross and you have your Super Dimension Southern Cross. But what Robotech does is that they mash them together as if they are one solid continuity.
Oh,
Then, besides Southern Cross and Macross, Robotech also has some story from Mospida. So it's a jumbled up mess, and they made so many changes to make it its own thing. But the problem is, it's very much like Power Rangers, where they take scenes from those anime series to combine them together while they do their own changes, give it their own narrative. So, of course, the Macross portion is the most popular. It's the one most people remember. Then, after the 80s, what Harmony Go did was, because they hold the licensing in the West, you can't have any Macross coming in from Japan to the West. So Macross, as a franchise, it continues to grow. You have your Macross, Do You Remember Love, which is a movie adaptation of the original. Then you have your Macross Plus, your Macross 7, your Macross Frontier, Macross Delta. Because Macross has stretched from the 80s all the way to the 2010. But Harmony Go, being a very difficult company, they have not allowed any other Macross property to come into the web.
that is insanity.
Hello?
Oh yeah, you're here. Don't worry about the cutout. It's fine. Yeah, that's very strange.
It got silent because they have made it very difficult for Macross to come over to the West, to the point where Kawamori, the creator of Macross, he disowns Robotech. There was an interview where people asked about his opinion on Robotech. He completely disowns it and tell people to just support the Macross. And he is pissed off because of Harmony Go. There's no way for other Macross properties to come into the West.
Damn, that's a history lesson if I ever heard one.
Basically, Robotech is a mishmash of a few different mecha series. Mostly is Macross, but because of Harmony Go being a very difficult company, the original Macross properties that Robotech is based off cannot come to the West, cannot be localized, cannot be brought forward. So forth. Even the games also cannot be brought forward.
Yeah, that's strange. I knew a little bit of, like, just a very, very basic thing about it just not being here, but I didn't know the entire history because, like I said, I'm a very, very bottom of the barrel mecha fan, if you will. Which apparently, if you've only seen like one mecha or the wrong mecha, then apparently you're not. That's from a different person, not these guys.
It's all right. It's all right. I mean, we all have to start somewhere.
Oh, of course.
In a weeb, man. It's hard.
Especially a retro weeb, because now like Macross or Macross, sorry, is like it's not got as big of a fan base as it used to, because now Mecha has just kind of like almost died in the Western fandom.
Now I know that this is pretty much why we're all here.
Yes,
is we have this wonderful clip from Giguk himself, where Mecha is just kind of dying a slow, painful death, according to him. Where maybe he meant Macross itself, or just Mecha in general. I mean,
I think he meant Mecha in general.
Yeah, and what's your?
Sure, he's talking about the end.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think he's specifically mentioning the anime portion of it. I think it might be good if we see the whole clip so we can dissect it a bit further.
Yeah. Here, let me go. I'm gonna do a thing where I'm gonna go back just a little bit, so that way we can catch just the beginning part of what he was saying. So that way we can play it from point to point.
It's not got as big of a fan base as it used to, because now Mecha has just kind of like almost died in the Western fandom. It's only the very dedicated fans that still keep up with everything like that.
And if there is Mecha, then it's usually combined with some other genre that is more appealing, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's not usually like Mecha is the main. It's like here is the main, and we just add a little bit of Mecha to it.
I think like the last big Mecha was probably Darling in the Franxx, and I'm pretty
Oh,
sure
right.
more people cared about 02 than they cared about the mechs.
Yeah.
No one was like, oh, Darling in the Franxx. Those mechas are cool. It was more like Darling in the Franxx.
It was about the inside of the mecha.
Yeah. We were looking inside.
It's like, damn, that booty thick.
Yeah.
That's all they cared about, right?
By the way, AnyTuber, sorry, I have to pace myself a little bit. It's kind of like when you have too much sugar and you kind of have to like step back a little bit. So I'm gonna pull up my question list here that I slapped together at some point in the past few days. So what got you into Mecha? Because it kind of ties in with how only the dedicated fan base are still around for Mecha to exist. So how did you get into it initially?
I got into Mecha when I was a kid, because when I was a kid, because I'm from Singapore, I'm from Southeast Asia. There were various channels that showed Mecha anime, but not in Japanese and also not in English. So there were some in Malay, some in Chinese. So the Mecha anime that made me a Mecha fan were God Mazinger and Gundam Wing. And luckily, yes?
No, go ahead.
And luckily, and also Power Rangers to an extent, because Power Rangers always had that cool Megazord fight near the end of an episode. So those things contributed to me getting to Mecha. So then from there, as long as there was Mecha on the TV, I would give it a watch. At that time, as when I was a teenager, they were showing things like Gundam Seed on TV and so forth. Then I also got into Super Robot Wars, which is a very good way of learning about other mecha anime and giving you reasons to go and watch them. It's like a very big advertisement where they show you because Super Robot Wars works in such a way, they have so many different series. Like every title will have about 10 different mecha series at least. Then you get to see the characters and mecha interact with one another. You get to see their plot being reenacted in the game. So for example, there was one Super Robot Wars game I played, Super Robot Wars J. It had a series called Leisner. Then I was interested in the series after playing the game, so I went to watch the series. And usually that is how Super Robot Wars works. They'll introduce new players to series they have never seen before to advertise and entice them. Then from there, they'll just go and see the series. So it's a very nice cycle. So that's how I got into Mecha in general.
Yeah. That's kind of the same way as like I would watch something like, obviously I wasn't into the main Gundam series, but I remember on TV here, at least in America, they had Toonami where they would show they had like a robot week where they actually showed off a bunch of different series. And Chad, if you don't know, they used to have back on Toonami before they kind of got a little weird. They used to have this robot week thing where they would show a bunch of different mecha anime. So they had Mazinger, and they also had Martian successor Nadesco, and
Uh,
I would not be surprised if a lot of people didn't know about that one. But I did happen to see it, and I thought it was pretty interesting. But then they also had Neon Genesis Evangelion actually on Toonami for like teenagers during the day before they moved it to like the nighttime. But G Gundam was like the first one that I actually saw, and I was like, man, this is fucking awesome. Like fighting robots, and they're just doing like the tournament style thing. It was fine by me. I enjoyed it, and I was like, man, I really like all of the designs of these Gundams. And of course, there's another individual, and we can do that one later, like way later in the future. Trust me, it hurts, but yeah,
I know who you're talking about.
oh man, so you already know. But yeah, we saw that video, and
Yeah.
I liked the designs. It was pretty interesting. So that was my first exposure to Mecha, at least on the very basic level. And of course, I'll watch anything that has something in it, even if it's not specifically for me, just so that way it can expand my horizons a little bit. The next question that I had for you, since we're also here at the full screen of these gentlemen here and woman, when did you hear about AniTubers? This is kind of like a weird off the wall question, because I wanted to know, how did you hear about these individuals at first, or AniTubers as a whole?
Maybe I'll start with the individuals, because like Giguk, I had already known him for quite a while, because he made a very popular video called Eva Abridged, his series of Eva Abridged videos. So from there, I subbed to him and watch his videos quite frequently. Then he likes to make those seasonal anime catch-ups. So like if there's a new season of anime come, he'll make a quick summary of the season, which I enjoy watching. It's just just a few points from his mecha videos that got my attention. Then you have the anime man. I haven't seen most of his videos, but I've seen some of his interviews where he interviewed the creator of Konosuba, as well as that creator of that interesting doujin.
Shindle, yeah.
Yeah. So because he's, compared to Giga, he's a very more of a very vlogger kind of person.
Yeah.
kind of YouTuber. So yeah, I know about them, because often I'll see their videos on the recommendation, because their videos tend to do well.
Oh yeah.
So that's how I know about them in general. Any tubers before them, there was Misty Chronixia. I think he was one of the first popular AniTubers before those two got big. So yeah, but he was a different kind of YouTuber. He kept spamming all those top tens or those lists, anime lists, with all those funny clickbait thumbnails. So yeah, because of him, I don't really have a very good impression of AniTubers, but I think that has improved over the years, because what he did was a bit weird.
Yeah, Mystic Connexia is kind of weird side tangent, chat. Mystic Connexia has kind of fallen off of the weird way of things. There's a lot that goes into it. It was pretty much dealing with Connexia and the 8 seals, but that's another video for a different day. The other thing that I have is let's see, hang on, here it is. Can you tell me some things that you know about the mecha industry as a whole? Like, for example, how it's evolved since like the early 90s, and when anime started to arrive at the doorstep here of the West. So anything that you have as far as how Gundam, but how mecha works as a whole, like they make this thing to promote something else, or is it much more intricate than that?
Generally, in Japan, when they make a mecha anime, generally they'll make it with the intention to sell merchandise. So for example, Gundam, every time when you see a new Gundam, there'll be Gunpla that will be based on the Gundam from the series. For example, Gundam Wing, there will definitely be Gunpla for the Wing Gundam and so forth. Usually it's merchandise driven, but not there are some cases where that's not really the case, and there are some cases where the West actually influenced the direction of the anime. For example, have you heard of a mecha anime called Big O?
Yes.
or the
Yeah,
Big
Big
O.
O, yeah, Big O used to be on Toonami too, actually.
Because the interesting thing about the Big O was that in Japan, the first season, it didn't do very well in Japan. But when they brought it over to the West, it did quite well in Toonami, correct? Or is it Toonami?
Yeah, it did well on Toonami, and I think they eventually moved it to Adult Swim, which is like a late night block that they have on the same channel.
Yes, because of its success in the West, it got a second season. So in this case, the West influenced the success of that series. So the West does play a part. So because of the success of the first season, Big O got a second season, largely thanks to the West, because the Japanese audience didn't respond very well to the first season, because because it's very noir, very adult and a very Western type, with a Western mindset for Big O. That's what I got. Then for the 90s, I mean, like what you mentioned, you had Toonami, which introduced Gundam Wing, G Gundam, Evangelion, Nadesco, so forth to the Western audience. Gundam Wing is the one in particular that caused many Westerners to be familiar with Gundam. Because if I'm not wrong, that and maybe G Gundam was the first Gundam for many people of that generation.
Oh yeah.
Then oh sorry, the 90s is it's more of like the entry point for the West, in a way. It's
just kind of them throwing something out there to not necessarily to see if it sticks, but to see if people would catch on to it like they think that it might have. That's what I would assume that it probably was kind of like, because like you said, the West kind of contributed to Big O. People here fucking love Big O. I liked it too. It was actually pretty good. People, like, even in the chat, they said it was like Batman but with a giant robot. So it's kind of like that. The other thing that I have here, since we're kind of here, and the literal apex of most of these videos, what are your thoughts on the whole meme of like Mecha is dead or Mecha is dying that's pushed by these anti-tubers, or at least in Giguk's kind of spectrum? Because I think other anti-tubers have also kind of shared the same thoughts, even Glass Reflection, where they all have like the fall of Mecha or Mecha, the rise and fall of giant robots. What's your take on that?
All right. I mean, if you look at anime now, it's very different from, say, the 90s or early 2000s. Now, anime is widely available to everyone because of you have a streaming service, and you also have you have some channels where they'll just upload the anime on their own official YouTube channel for all to watch. For example, Sunrise have Gundam Info, where they upload all the latest Gundam series episodes on their YouTube channel. So in terms of accessibility, it's much easier when compared to the past few decades. And my take on it is that perhaps dying or dead isn't the correct word to use, because if something is dead, it means there's zero mecha anime. We haven't had that, and we likely won't have that because we at the end of the day, we still have Gundam. People like to downplay that Gundam is only one franchise, but have you actually seen the franchise? Is it a small franchise?
No.
It's one of the biggest franchises. It's literally a money-making machine. And like what you mentioned, Gunpla is making them a lot of money, and it will continue to do that. I mean, just recently, they hit 500 million lifetime sales. That is not something not any normal franchise can do normally. And it's always like one of the top franchises, 15 and so forth. And because of Gundam, Sunrise will continue to try and experiment with other mecha series. The main issue I see that why a lot of people get the impression that mecha is dying or so forth is the number of series or mecha series every season. Like, I mean, we don't beat around the bush. 2019 wasn't a very good year. They only had 3, 5, or 6 mecha anime if you are stretching it a little bit. But I mean, we're only looking at it from a TV side. because there are some mecha anime that are streamed. Like how do I say it? Like, because streaming is becoming a very popular platform. Some companies are putting their mecha anime on their YouTube channels instead of streaming it on TV, because it's like what I say, it's more accessible. And it's not just Sunrise or Gundam. You also have Takara. You also have Takara Tomy. Do you know Takara Tomy?
Yeah.
They are the they own Zoids as well as the Transformers merchandise in Japan, and
Yeah,
it's
I really
continuing
like
to
that.
Zoids in particular. Yeah, Zoids in particular. And previously they had a series called Shinkalion. Shinkalion was making them a lot of money, but after it ended, things had a slump because Transformers. There hasn't been any new Transformers movie. I mean, there is a Netflix series, but it wasn't made with Takara Tomy's acknowledgement. I mean, because the West tends to do its own thing, while Japan tends to do its own thing when it comes to Transformers. So sales weren't very good. The only franchise that was continuing to do well was Zoids, because they had a new series called Zoids Wild, and it's not only in Japan. It's also, you can also see it in Southeast Asia, and they are promoting some new games with regards to the IP. Then also, if you look at it, you have Trigger Studios. They recently had a movie called Promare, which did okay. Then I think in 2018, they had Gridman, which is a anime sequel sort of to a 1993 tokusatsu series. And that series did very well. So well to the fact that it's getting a sequel very soon. Can you name me any other Trigger property that has gotten a sequel?
Oh man, I don't know. I'm drawing a blank.
Because no other Trigger series has gotten a sequel. Somehow it's what, less than 2 years they announced a sequel, because it did very well. But of course, I mean, Giga is saying things in the perspective of the West, but I mean, partially it's true, because the West doesn't have the same kind of fondness for the genre, in my opinion.
That's fair. Yeah, I would say so. But I think that's pretty much all the mileage out of this good video. Just because it kind of hits on like the main point, and then it just kind of tapers off into to more AnyTuber nonsense. So we have I know we have like some bits and pieces from like this video and the other one here. I think we can start with this one. Do you think?
All right, yeah, it'll be good.
So this is the part of the decline of Mecha in the 2010s. Can you give us a quick rundown on just like what it's going to entail from this point up to like a certain point?
Okay, because he's not necessarily wrong with this video. In 2010s, there is a decline, mainly because of one series, 2012, that came out, Sword Art Online. That series caused a very big shift in the anime industry. It led to what we call the isekai boom or isekai bubble, such to the point where every company or what will churn out an isekai anime every season, to the point where, to the detriment of every other genre, not just mecha. Can you name me some big cooking anime in the last 5 years, for example?
You'd have to stretch it, because I don't think there's any. Sweetness and Lightning is the only one I can think of, besides like the one that everyone loves, Food Wars. Those are like the only two that I can think of.
Because it's not as well as your cooking genre. I mean, detective. Is there any very big detective anime besides Conan?
We had. I want to say that there was. Princess Principal. I don't think really counts as detective, but it's kind of like a tactical espionage kind of thing. As far as anything else, I don't think we've had. I know that there's been a few. a few detective ones. I just can't remember the name of them right off the top of my head.
Because I would say that Mecha is in the same boat with these genres, because now the focus is on isekai, because the industry knows that isekai will sell, so they are moving their focus to isekai. That is one reasons why there is a decline. A second reason is also the format of anime now. Now every anime, most of them, how many episodes do they have?
Typically in a season 12 or 13.
Yes, it's a very big difference from, say, the beginning of the year. Beginning of the year of 2010s, most of them still followed the like 26, 24 episode format. So now it's very difficult. Now there are more anime, but they are shorter. And so it's very hard to get the attention of a viewer with just that many episodes. With like what he mentioned in the video, like you will need to be able to catch their attention within the first 3 episodes. But Mecha is a very different ball game, because they can't just do that so easily unless they decide to be a bit different. But usually those that decide to be a bit different, their success rate isn't very high from what I've seen. Then so you have your isekai boom, you have your changing the anime format. Then lastly, you could say that decade, because of all this, the quality isn't very good in compared to previous decades, from what I've seen. Because they have to rush through their storytelling, or they try at the cost of their story, they focus on things that that won't make fans happy, from what I've seen. Because I've seen a lot of mecha anime during that decade where they make decisions where they try to stand out, because that is the problem with this kid. They try to do so many things to stand out, they end up don't stand out at all, from what I've seen.
Yeah, and you can kind of tell when you get around to this era where he's gonna bring it up, but let us continue.
So here we are today, the gradual decline of a genre that was once the juggernaut of this medium. Now, I'm by no means saying there haven't been any great series over the last 10 years, but it should be clear to everyone by now that mecha is nowhere near as prevalent as it used to be. Gundam has been reduced to OVAs which mainly appeal to the hardcore fans, with Iron-Blooded Orphans failing to garner the mass appeal it really needed. The small amount of new original IPs have fallen flat, even though the likes of Star Driver, Captain Earth, Aldno Zero, Knights of Sidonia, and Valve Rave have tried, none have come close to succeeding. And if you're a dedicated mecha fan, the chances are that you've become a minority in the modern anime community. How did this happen? It would be easy to say that trends come and go, and in a genre that is 60 years old now, there is little room for something new and innovative. But now, having looked through its rich history, I believe the problem could run deeper than that, and there are 2 main points I want to address. Firstly is the current landscape of our time. Mecha found its roots from the impact of World War II, and because of this, war has always been a prevalent theme in the genre. War against an oppressor, war against an unknown entity, the moralities of war is something that we as humans have had to deal with throughout our history, but right now, war isn't at the forefront of the general consensus. Relatively speaking, we're in a more peaceful time without the worry of war, Twitter dick measuring contests about nuclear weapons aside, and in its place are the fight for social political issues or localized tragedies. War stories just don't captivate us as much as they used to, and
oh man, I feel like I have to stop. I feel like I have to stop, because not only did this age like milk, but holy shit. So obviously he would never have known that we would be in current year for this to be a thing. But I feel like you don't have to have war bad be the message of mecha. Sometimes it can just be, wow, cool robots. Which, from what I hear from my constituents about like SD Gundam, or like the little chibi ones, it's not really war necessarily.
It depends from story to story. Like some SD Gundams, they do it such that there's one SD Gundam series called SD Gundam Gaiden, where all of them are like, your Final Fantasy party. That sort. They are like a party. They go and fight a demon king. Something like that. Because for SD Gundam, they are a bit more. They tend to follow a very more interesting formula. For example, recently there's an SD Gundam that is based on the based on based based on the tree, based on China mythology. So they tend to play around with it. Like they try to do their own historical versions of Chinese Chinese generals and so forth.
Okay.
So it's not necessarily always about war and so forth. It depends also. Because some SD Gundam they do it with comedy in mind.
Okay. And to his earlier discussion about how we could just kind of blame it on trends, would you say that it's probably more overriding that there's a shift in trends typically just for the sake of this, or do you think that that he's correct about it being more than just trends?
I don't think he realized that mecha has always been a niche in the genre. This is nothing new actually. It has always been a niche. It's just that it's becoming more apparent because he's looking at the number of mecha series per year. But if you look at it, it has always been a niche. Mecha has never really been mainstream other than a few titles like say Gundam, Gurren Lagann, Code Geass, Macross, Evangelion. But other than that, it has generally been a niche. It's not like say a shonen anime where every decade there'll be the main shonen series carrying that decade. Like this decade, you have your Hero Academia, and One Piece continues to still be very strong going forward. But these are very big franchises. I mean, you can't really compare that to Mecha, which has its own audience in mind.
Yeah.
So when he said that Mecha fans today might feel small, I mean, we have always been small in a way because it has always been a niche of the genre from my perspective.
Yeah, very fair.
And grand, epic mecha warring plotlines have less of a place in this time. Not only that, but the landscape of anime itself has changed. We are in a time of the seasonal, competitive, hard-hitting 13-episode anime series, and for a genre that generally likes to tell compelling, epic tales that require the time investment of developing a large cast and building a rich world, it's hard to compete. Fact of the matter is, you'd usually need at least 25 episodes to tell a decent mech story, with 50 episodes being the optimal, and for this many episodes to be planned and approved from the get-go is becoming increasingly rare in this day and age, and even rarer if you want to do it for a new IP, not forgetting that it still has to compete with every other seasonal anime, meaning if it doesn't grab an audience in the first 3 episodes, it'll likely be a flop. The second big
the thing I want to this may not directly relate to what you do, but a lot of anti-tubers believe that within the first 3 episodes you will either love or hate a show. So as we spoke earlier, because you guys know who you are in chat, as we spoke earlier, I was playing The Binding of Isaac earlier on stream. I don't like it. I think that it's just not a very good game for me, and it's just a bad game. Now, the game itself, however, is probably really good for the people that enjoy it, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it only took me that 1 hour on stream to find out that I actually hated it. And so here we are with 3 episodes to find out if you're going to like this show or not, and if you want to give it the investment. Now, that all kind of caters into personal taste when it comes into the different genres. So for this, if you're not into mecha and you're more into isekai stuff, for example, you're probably not going to give this the time of day. Or if you're into rom-coms or any type of comedy type of show, and you're not really looking at this, it might not be on your radar as well. So most of the anti-tubers have always kind of pushed this other meme of 3 episodes, and some believe that you can't judge an anime off of its first episode, and some believe that you can. What do you think? Because I think that's actually one of the questions is what mecha series would you recommend for newcomers, and which one would you recommend for veterans? Because I think that because chat, they obviously know like all the good stuff, like you know it, so you would know where a good entry point is, because Giga kind of brings this up in the fall of mechas. Like there's no good entry point for mecha fans, but where do you think that is? Like, where do you think that that it could possibly just be that? Oh, by the way, if you are talking, it's because you're muted, I think. Oh man, I think we dropped him. There he is. Oh wait.
Am I muted?
Oh, there you are.
Am I muted?
Now I hear you. There you are.
Oh, okay. So sorry. Yeah, I think there was some issues, but everything. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Okay. For newcomers, I think it really depends on what they are looking for, because there are so many different types of mecha anime with different different tastes in mind. Like if you want your mecha anime with over the top action, you have your Getter Robo OVAs, you have your Mazin Kaiser, you have your Gunbuster, you have your Gurren Lagann, you have your Gao Gaiga or any of the Brave series. But if you want mecha anime that is a bit more like school-based, school of life, you have your Full Metal Panic, or you want your political drama, or you have your Code Geass, some Gundam series, most of which are very political. Or you will just want something simple, you have your Gundam OVAs, your 8th MS team, your Stardust Memories. Most of the OVAs are good, as in they are very standalone-ish. So you could just, and much shorter than the actual series. So you can just watch the OVAs to get a feel of Gundam. And the unique part is that most of them are very different. Like War in the Pocket, the perspective is from a little boy, and the other main character is just a newbie soldier, as compared to, say, Gundam Thunderbolt, where you have soldiers who are, some of them are crippled, while there's one who loves jazz and he loves to fight. So it's very different. There are very different series for different tastes, which shouldn't be an issue if you're looking for that kind of thing. Then in addition, you have your very grounded real robot series, like say Votoms, where it's very grounded and tends to be quite serious, where, because the main character in particular, he doesn't talk very much because he's a heart driven soldier, and he has been fighting all his life, that kind of thing. Or you want things that are a bit noir, a bit more interesting, you have Big O, which we have talked about, where the main character is basically like Batman but with a giant robot. Of course, there are some interesting takes, like you have some mecha series like Die Guard, where the main characters are salarymen who fight like natural disasters. They just come, like, for example, natural disasters like a tornado or hurricane. But in this case, the monsters are the tornado or hurricane, so they are like dealing with natural disasters in a way through a giant robot, but they are still getting paid and so forth. Like, it's part of their job. Then you also have some mecha series like Gunsword, where the main character, because some guy with a claw killed his wife on his wedding day, so he's out for revenge, and somehow mecha is a very common thing in that world, so he'll use his giant robot to hunt for the killer, while also helping people along the way. So yeah, there are quite a lot of series that can appeal to newcomers, and it's not just the common names like Gurren Lagann or Code Geass. It's a very wide genre. It really depends on what you're looking out for. As for the veterans, if they can always try to expand their horizons, they can try some of the moderated mecha anime like Dragonar or Hero Man, for example. I mean, that's because they're at that stage where they have seen most of the good stuff, so they should try to look at the more of the hidden gems and so forth.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense, because, like I said, I'm very basic. So G Gundam to some people, at least in the climate of like shonen series or these tournament based arc series of stuff, something like that, it'll be probably more their forte. And it's a thing. We all have to you have to spread it out a little bit, see what's happening.
Thing, as with everything else in this world, is money. Mecha series are expensive to produce, not just because of the commitment of a high episode count as we just discussed, but because of the nature of the shows and the mechs themselves. Recent times have seen the rise of using CG to depict mechs, and as subjective as this may be, I think I speak for a lot of us by saying the new standard of CG robots are just less aesthetically appealing than the mechs of old, and have failed to capture the modern audience the same way Nightmare Frames, Arbalest, and Nearvash did for my generation. This is not to say that CG is a product of lack of funds. CG mechs can look good and have looked good, but it seems like all the time, money, resource, and talent to make them look good are poured into OVAs now, which I suspect is to appeal to the hardcore fans because only they at the moment fuel the prevailing lifeblood of mecha. Merchandising. History has taught us that this genre lives and dies by merchandising, and the hot things now aren't gunplas.
Okay, you know, I really don't got anything. I think I'll let you just go ahead and take it from here about this point in particular.
Yeah, because I think this is the one point that, because so far what he mentioned is generally correct. The seasonal change, the changing demographic. But this is the one point where, yeah, I agree with it. He said that Gunpla is more for the hardcore. But if you go back to that video, perhaps we go to the start. There's one thing I want to point out. Yeah, perhaps you could rewind it a little bit.
Yeah, let me go. You know, I'll just do it. Whoops, not that way. I'll just do it this way. It'll be easier, right around here, I think.
At the moment, fuel the prevailing lifeblood of mecha. Merchandising. History has taught us that this genre.
Yeah, sorry.
Who are looking at the Gunpla?
Kids and, well, I mean, a family. We'll just say that in general.
So are the kids part of the hardcore base?
I'm sorry?
So are the kids part of the hard?
Are they part of the fan base? No. I would assume they've never probably seen the many generations of Gundam series.
Yes, so when he said it appeals to the hardcore, in this clip, it's a bit contradictory, don't you think?
Yes.
Yeah, because like what I mentioned, Gunpla is for all ages. It's not just for the hardcore. Yes, the hardcore might buy repeated models, but the thing is, the young children, because they have a whole line of Gunpla that's catered for the young. It's not just the hardcore. It's for everybody, as what we'll be looking at later. It's for everybody. It's not just for the hardcore. So this point I disagree with, because if I'm not wrong, in the West now you can even find Gunpla in, say, Target or some other general store. Is that correct?
I personally haven't seen them there. I kind of live in California, where you can go to almost any hobby shop, which there's a dozen of them. The closest city to me is San Francisco, and there is actually a place that's in Japantown where you can go and literally buy like any model from virtually any series. And that's kind of where I plan to go when I do start doing some Gunpla. So.
Because like Gun is now over 40 years old. They cannot just cater targeted towards the young, and the reflects that, because now you have various different types of Gunpla. You have your high grade, your SD, which are perfect for the newcomers, for the young children. Then you can, for the more advanced builders, you have your RG and so forth. Because so when he said that it's just for the hardcore, I disagree, because it's catered for everyone, and it's not just hardcore that is buying Gunpla. A lot of kids also buy Gunpla.
Yeah, and here let me go like a seconds back or so, and then we can go through that entire part, because I know that was a very strong point he made, and also just strange.
Mecha. Merchandising. History has taught us that this genre lives and dies by merchandising, and the hot things now aren't gunplas. The patience and skill needed to build your own model kits cause them to have a much higher barrier for entry than simply buying a figure of your favorite digitized waifu.
Oh geez, I know I said I was gonna let it play, but I didn't. I don't have the people I need here, but PewDiePie actually built a Gunpla.
Yeah, he's a fan of it. He has been building for quite a while already.
Let's see here. Where's
I think it's the third one. Is it?
Oh yeah, we can watch yours here. Let me pull this up here. Do you have the clip where he? Oh yeah, that's kind of right
it's together.
So it's kind of just like just like Legos almost. And it has the instructions right here to tell you where things go. So if you build like Lego model kits, which is very insanely popular, I would say that that's probably more popular here than Gunpla is, simply because Lego just has always been a thing. And then of course you have Mega Blocks if you're a poor person. I'm just kidding. That that is like a thing that that they do here is Mega Blocks are like the discount Legos, so they're not good by proxy, but yeah, most people build Lego model kits, and that's why they go for thousands of dollars whenever you do like create them. With this, it just seems like the exact same thing, cut out cleanly, and then you put them together. It's literally this entire clip.
And it should be noted he's building, and he's not building a beginner kit building.
So this means he's building like the I guess they have like different like levels of building, or at least of detail of how to put them together.
Correct. He's building a more, I would say, a more seasoned model. It's for more season. It's not so straightforward. It shows that he's into the hobby.
I like how chat says that Mega Bloks was and still the shit, only because of Halo. Yeah, Halo did have like that weird like Mega Bloks thing, didn't they?
It becomes a hobby rather than a casual purchase, meaning they end up appealing to the dedicated hardcore fandom as
Hardcore fandom literally just show children.
Yeah.
opposed to the mass audience. Keeping them happy with high quality OVAs they will definitely appreciate instead of a big push to appeal to the casual viewer. Mecha, it seems, just isn't as profitable for a mass audience anymore, and
which is incorrect. As you and I have both brought up, the quarterly earnings for Gundam, like just as that single franchise by Bandai Namco, has literally been doing as good as it's ever done, because it's more available, it's more widespread now than it was before. And even then, it's second only to Dragon Ball, which is pretty much an international franchise where it's not just here in America and it's not just in Japan, but it's literally the entire world has Dragon Ball in their hands.
Correct. And it should be noted that before Dragon Ball Super came along to revive Dragon Ball, Gundam was number one for most of the charts.
Ooh, I did not
It's
know
only
that.
recently because of Super, as well as the Dragon Ball mobile games and so forth. If not for Super and for the revival, Gundam would still be number one, unquestionable.
Oh, you still there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Then I see a lot of people like to bring up that it's only Gundam, but then let's use their logic. Do you think the kaiju genre is dead because we only get a few Godzilla movies every year?
Yeah.
Or do you think like the giant hero genre is dead because you only get, say, one Ultraman every year?
Yeah, that's true. You know, that's kind of the thing. Go ahead.
Or do you think the detective genre is dead because we only have Detective Conan that is carrying everything?
No, because we have other detective shows. They're just not ones that get picked up by, as Giguk puts it, as the mainstream, which I guess could be the same as like as Mecha, the way that he's implying it. But
yeah,
like you said, it's just kind of, it exists within a plane, and I think we can actually look up like I have to go to here instead. Sorry, chat.
Oh no.
There's a lot of things that the chat's gonna probably pick up. So let's see if I can type in like we'll type in Detective Conan as I fumble through this. Detective Conan has been going on for a long time. They call it something different here. They called it Case Closed. Ran by Funimation at some point, and Crunchyroll. Fuck Crunchyroll. And I think they kind of listed under mystery. So we've had mystery shows, but that's kind of like a general, like it can be anything, like Attack on Titan. They don't really classify it as the detective, but you can kind of just put two and two together. Like Black Butler is one of the most famous ones, one of the most famous examples. I think Durara. I've not seen it. I've seen a little bit of it, but I think that's kind of like detective-y mystery kind of thing too. People really enjoy it. What is Dead Man Wonderland? This one, The Promised Neverland. People love this show, and I think this is probably kind of like a mystery thing, kind of like The Island with Leonardo DiCaprio in it.
It's a mix of different things. As it went on, it become less mystery based.
I guess Higurashi kind of is a detective one too. People like Danganronpa for some reason. No, I'm just kidding. People do like Danganronpa. I don't have the kind of patience for the bear thing that's in it, but I think it could be pretty cute. People do praise Monster. I'm sure you may or may not have heard of it. People use this as a pinnacle of what is a good detective show. But this, of course, was in the era of 2004, so it's like one of those early 2000 shows where it's kind of out there. But yeah, people use this one as like the pinnacle, but it won't get brought up like next to Detective Conan, really, because I guess it's just a thing.
It's a bit different.
But let's see, hang on. Yeah, I think he's almost
In its place has seen the rise of new trends. Isekai, shonen, moe, slice of life all fit better in this modern landscape and make more money too. And
oh boy, I didn't. So if you're, I think you're pretty familiar with my videos. We always hit a stopgap whenever we watch a video that's by an AnyTuber, and usually we find where the stupid part is, and I think we kind of just speed bumped over it. Oh my god, I don't even think we've already hashed it out with the sales numbers, so this is literally
the thing about this is that he mentions it, but I don't see any statistics. I want to see the statistics.
Oh, they don't do that.
He has no links in his description, nothing.
Yeah, a lot of them don't. Researcher, excuse me, this dude edited the video and researched it. Now I have to look this dude up later.
No, he's all right, but that's the thing. I want to see the sources.
Yeah,
You cannot just make such a bold claim because at least Gundam, Gunpla, it has solid numbers. The rest, maybe not so much.
yeah, and that's kind of the thing too, is big AnyTubers, not that they really care that much about it, but they don't bring up the statistics or the research behind it, but they will say that this is the case. Like, as you just saw, they'll say these are selling way more merch than Mecha. Maybe I'm just mishearing him.
better in this modern landscape and make more money too. And
they don't. I almost just kind of want to look it up, but there's unsafe things on my Twitter, so I can't go look for it. But yeah, like you said, we kind of found it, and you know what? Actually, I have an idea. I don't know if this will work or not. Sorry, chat. You're gonna see all the things, all the dirty stuff here. Just kidding. There's actually a link that I think I might have saved. Hopefully it's like, here it is. The file. Yeah, open that shit. There we go. So these are the Bandai Namco holdings that they had. This is where they have all of the stuff that they did through the past quarter earnings. Right here. Financial highlights for the first quarter of the fiscal year that's ending in March 31st of next year. So here, hang on, let me zoom in so chat can see it. But right here is the sales of IPs group wide. And you can see right here all of the different things that Bandai Namco pretty much produces. And you can see here from the fiscal year 2020 where Mobile Suit Gundam is and how high it is. Right underneath Dragon Ball. Tell me what other franchises are really coming close besides Kamen Rider. Not a lot.
Nope.
And then you can see here their first half forecast and the full year forecast. They're still going to put Dragon Ball up there. Like I said, it's a very international IP. The same thing with Gundam, but I would say that it's still niche, technically. It's the same way when you buy Blu-rays, the companies know who's going to buy them and who's not going to buy them. That's why they cater to the dare I say it, the otaku that will spend hundreds of dollars on a Blu-ray box set, and not the casual viewer. That's something that they already know. whereas Gundam is available for everyone.
Yeah. Unlike, say, I mean, even Dragon Ball. Can you did they stream? Did the official channel stream Dragon Ball Super on their YouTube channel?
I think that they had it exclusively here through Crunchyroll.
Ah,
So the only way to watch it was then, and then of course when episodes would come out, then the servers would crash, and it's a whole
correct.
it's a whole
It's
thing.
not like, yeah, correct. It's not like, say, Gundam where they'll post all the latest episodes on their own YouTube channel. It's a bit different, where it's a more official source. I mean, you don't see the other isekai slice of life or shonen series doing that with their own YouTube channel. You don't see that. I mean, do you see Toei streaming or putting the latest episodes of One Piece on their YouTube channel? No such thing.
Yeah, so technically Dragon Ball has mecha. It did for like literally 30 seconds, and then they were like, Red Ribbon Army is they're kind of different. But but even then that makes it even worse. Yeah, that makes it even worse then, because then it's like mecha is still dominating even with that statistic in there. so Chad, it really never ends.
And I think the most interesting thing to come out of this story is with the rise of idol shows, for as I mentioned earlier, you can see the early roots of idols sprouting from Mecha, and whether it's been AKB48, Idolmaster Xenoglossia, or
Oh boy, no one remembers that.
Macross, the two genres have always been connected. But while the original Macross is more remembered for its mecha elements, the same is no longer true for the franchise, as Macross Delta's main fanbase interactions comes from their idol group. Hell, if we look at Studio Sunrise, the Gundam studio, the studio that thrives on its love for giant robots, we can see that it's not been Gundam that's been their money-making machine for the past decade. It's Love Live. Love Live is the property...
Okay. All right. You know more of the numbers than I do, so I'll let you take it from here.
No, it's a bit false. Gundam is still making the money for them. Perhaps when he meant Love Live, perhaps he means the DVD or Blu-ray sales, because those are selling. But compared to the Gunpla sales, it's a different story. So I'm trying to assume that he's talking about perhaps the DVD or Blu-ray sales, or maybe the album sales. So that's a bit different.
Oh yeah,
it's making money for Sunrise, while Gundam is making money for Namco Bandai in other areas. I think that's my assumption.
So one of the things, I don't know if you may know this. I know on some websites, Mecha technically kind of encompasses Symphogear in some respect, because it's like it's a thing. I love Symphogear, but what people don't understand is like the IP itself is Symphogear, but the music is by Elements Garden. It's something like that. That's the company that produces all those songs. They produce it and they do everything, and they kind of just use it under the name of Symphogear. So when you buy something that is from Nana Mizuki, for example, most of it is from Elements Garden. Even what's the show called? It's one of the shows that got me into making videos in the beginning. But they used one of her songs as the opening, and that was by the same company, Elements Gardens. It's so that could also be a factor. I don't know if that's technically true, but I know that when you look at the credits, it'll kind of tell you. I love Symphogear. It's my favorite, dude.
It's good.
Dude, if that's my recommendation, go ahead and start from season 1 and then forget about it and just move right into season 2 and forward, because it's the way I describe it to people is it's kind of like a Marvel movie, but it's actually good. I'm just kidding. It's kind of like watching Marvel movies. So like in the first episode, it kind of starts off with a bang, and you know that you're watching something that's really quality.
That has allowed the studio to thrive in the modern age. Yes, you heard it here first. Idols killed mech anime. This, of course, is all my own speculation from looking at the history, as there is no definitive answer for why it has happened. But whatever the reason, mecha has found itself in a sorry state compared to its yesteryears. And whether there will be something to reignite it back into its glory days, only time will tell.
This is good video editing. Much better than mine, by the way.
But he's-
then
yeah,
he gets
correct.
into the future, but it's kind of neither here nor there, to be honest, because we can see 2018 was very unkind to this opinion here. it's a
Maybe
thing.
yes and no. It depends. It depends. It depends on how you see it. Because it's a half glass, half empty kind of. I mean, for us, it's a more of a half full or half empty. Half empty.
Yeah, he goes into it. I'm pretty sure because it kind of relates to the other video that he had, where he kind of left it on an optimistic note, where oh well maybe we will get more of these shows, and then in the follow up video, he kind of just goes back like, oh I don't think we're gonna see anything, guys. It's kind of like watching Dark Side Phil in a way, where guys I don't think we're gonna hit the tip skull, guys. I don't know what we're gonna do, and it's kind of the same thing. It's kind of just like a bait to get people, I guess, probably interested in it. Maybe it's a weird 300 IQ play. I couldn't say one way or another.
I mean, he's being optimistic. He's being half full optimistic.
And then he gets to this other.
Yeah. Because in that video, he still had hope for Darling in the Franks, but then, yeah, we know what happened.
Oh boy, yeah, we do.
Coming out than anyone can feasibly keep up with, this year there have been a total of 3 new TV mecha shows.
Yeah, this thing where he counts these, but it says with the asterisk next to it, not including films. So why do films not factor into this? I mean, this is just kind of me asking kind of openly.
I can see why he did it like this, because he's saying that it's appealing to the mainstream. But the thing is about this, you cannot just look at TV alone, because now not many people are watching TV as compared to online. There is a reason why, for example, the Gundam show Build Divers Re-Rise, they put it on their YouTube channel, because they know that, because the problem is only the Japanese audience can see it via TV. So that's why they're smart enough to put it on YouTube for the international audience to view it. That's why out of these 3 titles right here, Re-Rise got a 2nd season, and it's the most popular out of the 3.
Yeah, because I've never seen or heard of this, and I think I might have seen maybe a little bit of this. Usually if I haven't seen it all the way through, I've at least heard of it.
I saw Grand Belm. It's okay. The action scenes are very good. It's made by the same people who did ReZero. It's sort of like a way for them to exercise their animation chops before they went into the 2nd season. So that's why the character designs and so forth were followed the same as ReZero.
That's good. This. Oh yeah, hang on. Let me play through a little bit more of this here.
3. There was less mecha this whole year than half the number of isekai airing this season.
And as we've pointed out, that's because of technically because of the trend. The trend kind of dictates what people make, and especially if you want something to be seen, that's kind of what you do. Even in of the video I speak of, I might make a video on it, where he says, "Oh well, they took something that was popular at the time and threw a Gundam coat of paint on it." And I said, because it was popular at the time, and they found the trend, and they really didn't have to really deviate from that. And so that's kind of where the trend argument kind of comes in for this, in my own opinion.
And I can also say that in this whole year, there's only really been one big mecha show that's been released. Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Which was technically released before, but we're bringing it up now because it's Netflix.
Yeah.
Which they're not doing so hot right
now. Because of that show that starts with a C.
Oh boy,
we will not. I don't want to talk about it,
dude. Let me just tell you, my experience on Twitter has been degrading for like the past couple of days, because I see clips of it and I'm like, I just can't.
Yeah.
but this is essentially the whole thing, guys. So technically, Mecha is not. It's not dead. It's never really dying either. I don't even think that that's a right statement. Like, would you say that Mecha is dying per se?
No. Not at all. I mean, like what we have mentioned, we look at the sales, we look at the trend and so forth. It's Mecha has been around since the 70s. It's not going to go away anytime soon. Actually the 60s, if you count Tetsujin. It's nearly 50, 60 years old. It's not going away that soon. Eventually, the isekai bubble is going to burst. And
Oh, yeah.
from there, it will restart again. It's just a trend. It's just like how there really wasn't any popular cooking show until Food Wars came along. But the difference is Gundam is always around. It's
Oh,
going to
yeah.
be around to carry everything.
Yeah, Gundam's gonna. If Gundam ever leaves, then you can consider it dead. But they ain't
Yes,
stopping.
yes.
That's
No way.
That's the entire story here, chat. Is that if Gundam for some reason were to stop existing, which is not gonna happen, and I think aren't they still building like that one, the actual like motioning Gundam?
Yes. And yeah, speaking of that, recently they tried moving it and it's moving. It was able to move. About yesterday, there was a picture of it moving.
Oh man, this is gonna be amazing. We're gonna finally have our actual giant robot wars here soon, chat. But and so is there I know we're pretty much at the end because there's not really much you can extrapolate from Giguk and this meme, and I think the glass reflection tweet, if I can look for it somewhere, I know that was kind of like a thing where we don't have enough mecha, it's dying, guys, you got to revive it. It's kind of like it's just a thing that they've been saying because they're influencers. That's kind of their thing, is to tell people, hey, this thing is starting to die off, let's get it reinterested so that way they can move it forward. I don't know if you're familiar with the Flying Colors Foundation. It's kind of like this weird conspiracy theory, almost it's like my conspiracy theory, of where these individuals that are involved with trying to get analytic data from everywhere around the world have to try to figure out what the people want. So what they do is they get influencers, specifically the people of the Trash Taste podcast, where they sit around and they say, man, wasn't it like great when we had X, Y, and Z? What if we could have X, Y, and Z? And so they kind of use that to influence people to say, oh, I guess I'll start watching Mecha now because it's a really good genre and it's dying. I want to see what it's all about. And with the same thing that happened with the Flying Colors Foundation is that they kind of did some weird federal law breaking and state law breaking and things like that to kind of circumvent the system. And they asked a lot of personal questions about people's mental health, things of that nature. So with Geeks Plus and these guys, Giguk and the Anime Man and even Connor, I think that it kind of comes into question that they're kind of propagating this in such a way for it to be kind of like a push to get people to look into Gunpla and to look into Mecha in general.
Perhaps it could be reverse logic in a way.
Yeah, that's the way that I think, anyways. Is that it's some huge big brain strats that they're trying to employ here, but who really knows, right?
Yeah.
Before we go, I know that you also have a YouTube channel. If you want to, go ahead and we can do a shill segment for you.
No, it's okay. I mean, if people if people like what they see, then they can feel free to subscribe.
Yeah, you guys should be good chat. Go and subscribe right now. Here, let me copy the link so that way you guys can just find it. I think I copied the link to like the video, but but you guys need it to actually go there and subscribe. Because let's just face it, you're doing like way better on YouTube than I am. I've almost kind of given up, but not really.
No, it's okay. I think the last time I saw you, you only had like a few digits or what, but now it's getting better.
It's okay.
it takes time. It takes time. It's because I didn't get this number. It took me a long time to get this number. It takes time. You have to stick to it.
Oh man. I know Blue Shift was in here earlier. He's our other resident. I think he's more Gundam than anything else, but he's also very knowledgeable. But I feel like you're that upper echelon of mecha knowledge. So
it's all right. I mean, if you watch a bit, you kind of get the. I mean, it also can be attributed to Super Robot Wars that help to spark that fire in a way to learn more.
yeah, I'm definitely gonna try to invest in some Gunpla. And like I said, if I do that, like I said I was gonna do on Twitch, I need to actually get that fixed up. Then we're gonna build a Gunpla on stream. Buy it, set it up, dude. But
Actually, before we end, perhaps we could see that PewDiePie video. I think what he says is completely goes against what Giga was saying, which is why I uploaded a video.
yeah, we can watch it. We can watch the whole thing here, wholesale.
History has taught us that this genre lives and dies by merchandising, and the hot things now aren't gunplas. The patience and skill needed to build your own model kits cause them to have a much higher barrier for entry than simply buying a figure of your favorite digitized waifu. It becomes a hobby rather than a casual purchase, meaning they end up appealing to the dedicated hardcore fandom as opposed to the mass audience.
I think Gundam is for all ages. Small brain, big brain. You can do different sizes. There's different difficulties, I guess. Try it out. Depends how picky and how serious you want to take it. Gundam. Alright, with how divisive the world is, Gundam builds should be what brings the Earth together, right? Anyone can build it. It transcends all ages and races and genders and shit. Watching, I don't really care to watch Gundam. Sorry.
Which is why I clipped this, because it completely goes against his point. Not only he doesn't even watch Gundam, but he still builds and buy the model.
Amazing.
It completely goes against that point, which I couldn't resist. It was perfect.
Yes, this video is very reminiscent to me of Krobcat. Krobcat is one of my favorite content creators. He doesn't make videos that much anymore, but I think he will probably come out with a new slapper here very soon. So that's something to look forward to. It's very reminiscent of that, where he kind of just puts cuts together and he'll make some good videos. I would definitely recommend everybody check that out, and check out this video too. So, which is linked in the description. I did get that right. See, I'm smart, big brain. But yeah, that's pretty much all we have, chat. Unless you have anything else that you wanted to add.
Yeah, I think I should mention just one last point, that recently there was a report released by Sunrise, where the guy in charge of Gundam, he mentioned that it's only recently now that their plans are shifted towards outside Japan. That means so far they have been very half-hearted with pushing Gundam in, say, the West and China. It's recently that they are shifting their attention. That is why one of the SD Gundam series, where it was made with the Chinese in mind. It was basically like the Three Kingdoms, but
Three Kingdoms,
but with Gundam involved to cater to the Chinese audience. So eventually they are going to do the same with the West. Perhaps with the Hollywood movie, Hollywood Gundam movie. How can a genre be dying if they're going to make a Hollywood movie of Gundam?
Yeah, that's where they're going to kill it, is in Hollywood. Like, they're going to actually just take it out back. Just kidding. Hollywood's they're batting 1,000, but I don't think they can actually just ruin Gundam in any way. I would hope.
I mean, Sunrise is being very actively involved, so I don't think there will be another Avatar or Dragon Ball Evolution situation. I hope not. I mean, if that happens, then perhaps the genre is really dead.
Oh yeah, I don't think they're gonna let them just ruin that. There's no way in the world.
I mean, they might add a bit of, I don't know, Western sensibilities to cater to that demographic, but I hope the core is still the same.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot. There's one last thing I forgot, that Matt B said he did a $5 Canadian super chat that says tabletops are really popular here, and there's a lot of modeling in that. Yeah, people are getting into Gunpla. Even it's a Gundam. Our friend here, friend of the channel, it's a Gundam. he does, besides making the videos that he makes, he does have some Gunpla channel videos. I can't remember what
It's
the
a
name of it
Gunpla. I
is.
remember his side channel is
Yeah.
called It's a Gunpla. Yeah.
See, I always forget it, but it's a yeah, it's a Gunpla. That's why I didn't subscribe to it yet. But I remember that it exists, and I was like, oh yeah, and I was gonna add it to my list of things. But yeah, he builds Gunpla, and then he'll he'll kind of show you like all the different things that you can do with it as far as paints and stuff like that. Very informative. I actually forgot about this. Here, let me just go ahead and do this now. Why is YouTube just failing me today? But it was a pleasure to have you on. I know it's like very impromptu. I'm very bad at times and commitments, as you can clearly tell.
Hey, no, it's all right. I enjoyed the cast. I enjoyed being here. It was fun talking about Mecha with you.
Yeah, no worries. Like I said, I'm the stupid boy when it comes to when it comes to Mecha. So
No,
it's
I mean,
definitely
we all have to start somewhere. It's okay. I mean, eventually, I'm sure you'll be a big fan of the genre because it has a lot to offer, from what I've seen.
Oh yeah, definitely. And now we unfortunately have to leave, chat, so you can get on with the rest of your night because it's already 8 o'clock here, at least where I am. So it means it's like 11 on the East Coast.
Yeah,
And,
it's in the morning for me.
oh, that's right. So it's like super early. Sorry about that.
No issue. At least it's a convenient timing. Because if we had done it at the initially planned timing, I think it would be quite difficult.
Yeah, maybe, but you never know unless you try. But all right, chat, you stay safe. I gotta go argue about the Binding of Isaac again.